Good morning and welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Look at this cartoon from Igado. Joseph Kabila's masterclass speaks to something I wrote on the 7th of January, why the DR Congo delayed election results. And I quoted Stalin, it's not the people who vote that count, it's the people who count the votes. And I said as well, this is a clear-cut case where the will of the people is being subverted. It's egregious, it's outrageous. Maldives is seeking to renegotiate with China over the Belt and Road debt. This was willful corruption, Ibrahim Amir told the FT. The former government knew what they were doing, getting kickbacks from contractors. That's why the contract prices were too high. China said it had provided loans at below market rates for projects in the Maldives in accordance with the wishes and development needs of the Maldives. Saying that Mali was determined not to allow a debt for equity swap that would result in China securing effective control over territory. In 2017, neighboring Sri Lanka handed over the Chinese-funded Hambantota port to a Chinese state company on a 99-year lease, having struggled to service more than $1 billion in debt. Mr. Nasheed said, but we cannot and no one should expect us to pay back anything that hasn't come. 18th of June last year I was writing about the Hambantota port, and I said the first overarching point is that creditors are not Santa Claus and miscues will exact a very heavy price. Countries will be Hambantoted. Sudan's army says it will not allow the state to fall amid protests. The armed forces will not allow the Sudanese state to fall or to slide into the unknown, said General Kamal Abdul Maruf. In a statement, he said those leading the protests were hostile to Sudan and were hurting the country's image. But J. Devamont responded, the Sudanese army's statement in defense of Omar al-Bashir doesn't really change much. Security services are loyal to regimes until they are not. 21st of January, I said President Bashir has managed to claw his way back into position before and is a political Harry Houdini. Otherwise, he would not have lasted more than 3 decades. But it's clear these are the last days or the end times. South African all shares up 2.69% this year. Dollar versus Rand at the top of the range, 13.317. The Rand is at the top of the range. Nigerian all shares down 2.78% year to date. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index is down 2.73%. The remains of the Angolan former Unita rebel leader Jonas Savimbi will be reburied. This is according to the East Africa. Interesting article by Reuters about the Dusit situation. Bomber who blew himself up outside a Nairobi hotel, launching an attack that killed 21 people, was already so well known to Kenyan police that they had emblazoned his face across billboards under the slogan, wanted, dead or alive. Mahir Khalid Riziki was barely 20 when he joined a radical Islamist cell that assassinated police in his hometown of Mombasa. Officers said his mosque in the coastal Kenyan city funneled recruits to the Somalia-based Islamist group Al-Shabaab, which claimed the January 15 attack in Nairobi. Riziki was 25 when he died, fled after a deadly police raid on the mosque in 2014. Warnings may be too vague or too late. Riziki's journey spanned at least 2 East African nations that share borders with Kenya. After he disappeared, we monitored him to Tanzania, then later to Somalia. Then he went quiet until he made a surprise appearance in the Dusit attack, a retired Kenyan counter-terrorism officer told Reuters. Slender, chisel-faced Riziki often prayed at Mombasa's Musa Mosque, a newly renovated building whose green and white minaret is surrounded by a jumble of small shops. The mosque was a hotbed of extremism in the lead-up to the 2014 raid, authorities said, although now the leadership has changed. Kenyan police said Riziki was influenced by two of the mosque's former imams, Sheikh Abu Rogo and Abu Bakr Sharif, also known as Makaburi, who they said recruited for al-Shabaab and were widely thought to have been assassinated by the Kenya police. He, with many other youth, really idolized Rogo and loved his preachings, Mohammed told Reuters. They spoke about him all the time. Al-Shabaab is branching out. Its profile now looks a lot more like Al-Qaeda in East Africa used to than the principally Somali organization it was for many years. A lot of detail in this report. Do have a read. I wrote over the weekend, a lot now depends on whether this was a one-off or not. The shilling strengthened to 100.6 on my screen. Every January, every year, every forecast about the shilling predicts a 10 to 15% devaluation. It's truly mind-boggling. Key levers are inward remittances and the price of fuel, both of which favor the shilling at the moment. It's trading at 100.6. Have a look at the chart. You can see quite a nice rally. Kenya's CBA Group gets 53% of the merged entity with it in NIC Bank in the biggest bank deal in decades. A privately held CBA will get 53% of the merger entity while NIC will hold the balance. Merger will be complete by the third quarter. The new lender will remain listed on the stock exchange. NIC will be the holding company of the merged business. A successful merger would be the biggest since Johannesburg-based Standard Bank Group in 2007 started talks to buy CFC Bank. A unified bank would strengthen its ability to expand regionally. Both lenders already operate in Uganda and Tanzania, and CBA has ambitions to operate in 16 African nations. NIC shares jumped 13% to 33 shillings a share, extending gains since talks started in early December to 46%. If you want to check into the share price data, that link for NIC Bank is there. As I said, 47.53. NSE 20 up 4.39% year to date. Nairobi Securities Exchange has opened 2019 bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And you can see that in the fact that the all share is now up 7.06% year to date. NSE 20 up 4.39% year to date. Top performing stocks at the NSE, have a look. There have been some real outstanding ones here. Eveready is not one of those outstanding ones, reported a loss, EPS loss of 55 cents a share. Versus 1 shilling and 27 cents a share profit last time round. Cash and cash equivalents is down to 68.566 million, no dividend. But they keep on striking an upbeat note in the commentary, and I'm really not sure why. Once again, thank you for stopping by.